you guys know this guy, right? It's kind of famous guy around the corner.
Oh,
His name is Nick Garcia from OTR Capital. A lot of, students, wanted to connect with, OTR Capital, and they know Nick Garcia. So if you've been following, or if you're one of our, subscribers, you guys know Nick Garcia. We did about a year and a half ago, Nick, if you remember, about 2 years ago, we did the, live stream. I think it was the interview. And you guys have a lot of questions. Obviously, we have something amazing to share with you. We have the business opportunity to work with OTR Capital, specifically with Nick. So Nick is your guy. Please leverage this. Get the benefit, the most out of this call. So this guy, he's really busy, right? So we've been working for months to get this call. So he's here. Whatever the questions you guys have, please ask. And we will have the Q&A section at the end of the live stream. So please prepare. And what we want is the question that related to what we are talking today, specifically for the CRM that Nick will be sharing. And we also have the demo for you guys, right? Please prepare your questions. But here's the deal. I was failing my business, and Nick, he's in evidence. He's here and he knows ins and outs of my business, meaning the trucking company, which is I'm no longer the trucking company. I don't run trucking company anymore, but I was failing my company. Be honest with you, it was very frustrating to see that your boat is sinking. And I remember Nick was on the call, and he was saying, "Man, don't give up." And if you remember, Nick, that really hit me. I want to share something really important. As you guys know, I have no shame that sharing that, hey, I'm an immigrant in this country. When I came to this country and I realized that maybe back then it was the mindset that I had is everything is transactional, right? The business is all about transactional. They don't care about their, customers. But with OTR Capital, and by the way, OTR Capital, neither than Nick, they don't need any endorsements. Hey, work with these guys. They're doing pretty awesome what they're doing, right? So, and what would happen is that they changed my mindset, right? And I remember Nick said, "Hey, don't give up." And I was like, "Man, do you guys really care about my business?" And be honest with you, I'm like total transparency, 100% honesty. And again, they don't need any referrals, nothing like that. They're doing like crazy. And back then, Nick, I remember I was like, how many guys you had? About 50, people. I remember walk into the office, a lot of people, they're doing an amazing job. But then every customer matters. So carriers out there, independent freight dispatchers out there, this will be absolutely an epic, live stream. So please, I'll give you, a couple of seconds, so, Nick to introduce himself. For those of you who don't know, Nick, show is yours. Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi everybody. Thanks for joining with my good longtime buddy Kamal. Definitely happy to be here, kind of share some of the ins and outs. The dispatching side, obviously the factoring for the carriers, a lot of different details. As Kamal said, we've been acquaintances, business partners, buddies for a long time now, and we're very happy to kind of help him grow his business. As he mentioned, we've kind of exploded even since he kind of set up was way back in the days there, a couple of 3-4 years back. And just really excited to kind of get on here, show you guys what we have, and then obviously open it up to answer any questions and hopefully partner up with a lot of different resources from this video.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and for those of you, I remember I said, I'm failing my business. Maybe you guys thinking, but now you don't have the carrier side of your business. So like, what happened? I remember Nick came to my office. I can't remember. I think his name was Dave from the Marquee Insurance.
Yeah,
and,
I do remember.
And I remember, one of my, drivers was hit by a car, and then insurance closed on me. Right? It was like, and as you guys know, in the transportation industry, specifically in trucking, if you don't have an insurance, like if insurance, closes on you, you're out of business. Right? And they were like day and night working with me to get a policy so that I can get up and running quickly. Right? They helped me, and I was, making money. Obviously, then I started teaching people how to become independent freight dispatcher, helping people in general, starting their trucking, companies, whatnot. But that was the reason why I closed my career side of my business. So back to the OTR Capital. Tell me more about, like, maybe there are some people, Nick, they don't know factoring company. Like, how you guys fit in the market, what is factoring, and why OTR, and how you guys different from the competitors?
Great questions on that side, Kamal. So factoring is basically as simple as we come in and purchase the invoices of a trucking company and then make sure that that trucking company basically has their capital liquid within 24 hours, right? So often people come in, they try to build a broker direct, end up waiting 30, 60, 90 days to get paid on these receivables. Obviously with transportation, I mean, even specifically now with, gas prices, like you mentioned, Kamal, the overhead of having insurance, dealing with claims, potentially your insurance raising, equipment breaking down. There's just a ton of overhead that goes into trucking. So it's very important as a business to, one, sustain your business with that capital coming in within, a 24-hour window. So you're not having to wait that 30, 90 days. But on top of that, it helps you grow your business, right? I know there's a crazy stat out there. One of my data guys said it, and I'd have to track it down. But I think companies that end up factoring versus companies that just wait out the net 30, net 40s, grow their company exponentially. It's like 10x, I think, based on companies that are just waiting out the net 30 because you have that liquid capital. The other benefit to it is, with OTR, we do a great job on the back end of stuff. So we like to sell it as a one-stop shop, very much like a back office support as well. So everybody wants, the funds quickly, which we obviously do that, which most factoring companies do. But we also do a great job, I think, versus the competition of doing a lot of the hands-on work that they're not doing, right? Anyone can kind of come in and turn receivables over and act as a bank, right? And then not do anything on the back end. All that's going to do is create issues within 60, 90 days that the carrier ends up having to deal with. With OTR, kind of due to a couple of different programs we have with the non-recourse, we do take all liability. We handle 100% of collections on the back end. And then a lot of the technology, which you guys are going to see kind of a taste of that here today, it allows us to be very transparent with the work we're doing and really take on the effort of, instead of you having to hire somebody and pay employees, 3, 4 different people to handle all your collecting and billing and accounting, we basically encompass all of that for, a low flat rate on top of making sure that the receivables are paid. So a lot of different ins and outs that go into it, but that's kind of the gist of what factoring is.
Awesome. And to our audience, guys, by the way, Nick here is not to sell anything, be honest with you. It's like pure value. We asked Nick and OTR Capital, they're kind of donating their time, right? Please use this and ask the questions. And I do have a question, for example, how are you guys different from, competitors? And that we've been in business for long, and we know a lot of factoring companies out there.
Right.
But then why the only factoring company, which is OTR Capital, they work with dispatchers, but others don't? But if you don't trust me, guys, you're watching this, please do research and call them up. And you will see that not many, I would say 99% of those factoring companies out there, they don't work with with the dispatching company. But you guys do. And what is the reason behind this?
Yeah, no, I think, that's a good point, Kamal. Like you said, basically a lot of companies they'll take on referrals, right? Stuff of that nature where they say, hey, you send us referrals, we'll pay you, residual income, we'll pay you, cut your check, whatever the case is. But as everyone's going to kind of see here, we've really taken the time to build out a full-fledged platform for dispatching and kind of allow you guys to free up your time and handle some of this back end work. I think the main reason we did it, we kind of started off testing out the waters in terms of some of our technology. But once we kind of connected all the dots of, everybody is going to win from this scenario, that's when we really started putting a lot more time and resources into the technology, the referral program, things of that nature. Basically, the way we look at it, and this is something I know anyone that watched that original video, I kind of touched on, it's a full circle type of deal, right? So we can set someone up for factoring all day, but if we don't have any invoices to factor, then that's just kind of a wasted time and it's wasted effort, right? So what basically gets a carrier to move is going to be freight. And if a carrier doesn't know how to find freight, which a lot of these guys don't. They're just simply a driver that hops into the business, doesn't really have much of a game plan. I think they can kind of get on load boards. They get hit in the face pretty quickly with the reality of that a lot of brokers won't work with, trucking companies if they're not 90 days old. They have to fill out their carrier packets. They have to be in constant communication with these brokers as well. So a lot of this stuff, obviously, dispatchers take on. It really makes our life a ton easier, right? Because a lot of my dispatchers are going to handle the paperwork and the invoicing. So they make sure when it comes across to us, it's nice and clean. That's probably 50% of our day is calling carriers and dealing with bad paperwork because they're on the road, they're taking pictures, they're not technology savvy. So that's a huge help to us. Another thing is, like I mentioned, they get rolling, right? These dispatchers, as you train them, Kamal, and done such a good job of, they know how to negotiate rate. They know how to sell themselves to brokers, things of that nature. So in turn, if they're not invoicing, one, they start invoicing, but two, when they do start invoicing, it's very consistent. Everything's clean, it's streamlined, and the rates are paying higher. So in turn, just me being transparent, that's more money coming in for us as OTR, right? When the rates are obviously paying higher, it's more money for the dispatcher as well. And obviously the carrier is able to move and facilitate their business and, at least get some money into, help pay the bills and whatnot as they kind of figure things out. So basically what we just noticed is that all the way around, everybody's winning from this situation. We obviously love the dispatchers for that reason. They obviously bring great referrals to us as well because they're very much so the ones dealing with the carrier day in, day out. I might try to call a guy 3 times, can't get him on the phone ever because that, everyone and their mother calls when you get an MC started, as you probably remember, Kamal.
Yep.
So having the dispatcher as kind of the direct communication is also a huge help in even setting up the carriers, getting them in as referrals, things of that nature. So yeah, I just think all the way around, it's a win-win situation for everybody. And that's probably part of the reason that we, did put a lot of time and resources into building out the dispatcher partnership.
Well done. Well, thank you, Nick. Nick, I have this question about the referral. So before we get there, and there is an opportunity to work with OTR Capital, guys, making residual income. So we will go over this, but how you guys work with the independent freight dispatchers? So what about, are you guys available for everybody, the people who watching this, or there's like a specific, segments of people? Can you elaborate a little bit more on this one?
Yeah. I mean, basically we will, we prefer to have the dispatcher come in that's been trained, right? I think that's something me and Kamal kind of experienced on the first go around with that video is due to Kamal's, exposure on the YouTube. There was a lot of people that were working a day job and they just watch a couple videos and think they kind of hop in the industry. So I even remember, Kamal, I don't know if you remember this, we texted, I think shortly, maybe a couple months after that video came out. And I was like, hey, let's work on setting something up a little bit different just so that, we were getting more vetted and trained dispatchers, right?
And taking down the video, we even talk about that.
Yeah, I remember. So yeah, I mean, basically our program, there's a lot of huge perks for going through the link Kamal will share with you guys later, going through his training as well. Because like I said, we want dispatchers that are trained, they know the ropes, they know the ins and outs. That makes everyone's life a lot easier so everyone can hit the ground running. It's more reputable across the board as well. So yeah, there's a lot of benefits that come from obviously the OTR and the dispatch trucks partnership, which we'll kind of get into here probably a little bit later in the video.
Awesome. Yeah. I think it makes sense. And we talked about, on the initial call, Nick, is that, well, if I'm sending my students your way, I really want OTR Capital to treat them well. And obviously it's like vice versa. And then you guys have your carriers and you really need dispatchers to take care of those carriers, right? So I think it's the reputation on the line and it's this opportunity is available for those people who really gone over the training. Could be my training, could be other training, but you guys established. And you can reach out to Nick, and then I will show you the link with you. But let's talk about the residual income for the independent freight dispatcher. So my understanding, I really wanted to simplify this, guys. This is an amazing opportunity that we talked, about with OTR Capital, specifically with Nick. Nick said, think about. We will give them the CRM, and I'm about to show you that we have the demo. We did the demo with Nick, and I will show you. It's about 3 to 4 minutes video. So you'll be amazed by just, watching that video. You will have a lot of questions, obviously, and then you will get excited. Think about this is very important. when you bring a client, meaning your carrier, you can tell them that, hey, I work with a factoring company, meaning OTR Capital, and then you can bring the carrier to OTR Capital. Obviously, I can share with you guys, just put Nick aside, they will be making money, right? OTR Capital will be making money off of the client that you bring. But think about, they're very generous, and then they will be sharing with you 10% of the revenue that they make. Think about like 10%, and it's reoccurring revenue. The more clients you bring, the more money you make per month. Nick, can you talk about this?
Yeah. Basically, that's kind of nail on the head, Kamal. So the way our structure is set up, right, is typically once you set up as a dispatcher, ideally being a client of Kamal's or maybe another training, we start off paying a flat $100 per referral, right?
Mm-hmm.
They just have to factor 10,000. We'll pay the $100 after your usually fourth to fifth referral. When we see that you send over some good leads, we're going to obviously at that point kind of be creating a partnership and a business relationship as well between myself and my team and the dispatcher. We can then go to the team and then generate what's called a margins agreement. Like you said, Kamal, basically what that is the dispatcher monthly will be getting a 10%, basically like revenue share of the margins that we make on a per carrier basis. So the beauty of this is that one, you bring on a carrier that might do 10,000 the first month. Within the third month, they're doing 40,000. So obviously, in turn, that dispatcher's check is going to grow just in that example from that one carrier. But on top of that, like Kamal mentioned, it's a compounding type of deal. So you go from one carrier to 5 carriers, that goes from 20,000, to 100,000 maybe in revenue they're doing. And then, you're getting a kickback of that. But just to be transparent, it is based on the margin that we're making, not on the total revenue that they factor, right? Because obviously we have to pay out of basically what we're making. But yeah, that's kind of the gist of it. And the idea is that it is a residual monthly income and a great way to make some side cash and really help the business grow just for kind of putting our name in the carrier's ear and sending good business over our way.
Wow, awesome. So for example, this Wolf, what is it? The Wolf Express dispatch, for example, he or she really excited, and I'm excited to think about if the Wolf Express dispatch contracts with Prime Express, just for example purposes, and I have 10 trucks, right? And then think about, it's not about dispatching it, it's just bringing the customer to OTR Capital. Now let's say I'm in the flatbed market, let's say I'm making about 35,000 gross revenue per month, and I have 10 trucks, and I'm making about $350,000, let's say per month, right? We're generating revenue. So gross revenue, it's not net revenue. So whatever the percentage, the OTR Capital charges, and what's left, and you get 10%. Basically, OTR Capital shares 10% of the revenue that they make.
Correct.
Right? So, this is awesome for independent freight dispatchers, but we also need to talk about what's the offer for the carriers. So, for example, if there are carriers watching, hey, Nick, I really want to work with OTR Capital. So yes, I do have my own dispatchers, but I'm a carrier, 2, 4, 5 trucks, and what's the deal for them, for example, if they have the.
Yeah, basically, so anyone, if you just kind of reach out with OTR, let's just use like a brand new owner operator, just brand new MC number. You just kind of reach out to our website. You'll get one of usually our e-sales reps, and usually that rate's coming in around a standard like 4% for the non-recourse, just flat rate, no reserve, no escrow, no hidden fees type of deal. Anyone though that does go through the link Kamal will provide or in some capacity.
Let me show them a link. Go ahead. You can talk, and then I'll just
okay, awesome. But yeah, basically just goes through that link, ideally, or at some capacity mentions Kamal. We will work on adjusting that rate down to a 3% to start with owner operators, and that can be the same thing for the dispatchers. Is something me and Kamal discussed. So any dispatcher basically that goes through the course and then goes through the link to get set up with OTR for the dispatch referral program, that's essentially the rate that I will adjust and offer any of their referral clients as well. So that kind of encompasses, like I said, just the general owner operator. That being said, we can always get flexible with our rates, right? If they're larger companies, as Kamal mentioned, 10 flatbed trucks, that rate's not going to be at 3%. We're going to be a lot more aggressive. Basically, the rates are are dictated by volume, truck count, equipment type, things of that nature. So we're always more than happy to get flexible and aggressive with the rates.
Absolutely. And in 100% honesty, total transparency here. And Nick is here. It's nothing to sell. And we do have, our own students, and we taught about 22,000 students, within like 3 years. And there are a lot of people watching this. Guys, this is what we negotiated with OTR Capital. So you can use that link below this video. Once we post this video, it will be available. If you're a carrier, if you own trucks, and maybe you're not happy. Well, I wasn't happy with the factoring company, before, for example, OTR Capital, right? So if you're not happy, then just give it a call. Or there will be a link, just fill it out. And the benefit of using the link is, they created internally. I didn't, right? They created internally. Why? If you use that link, it will just, Nick and his team will know that you're coming from Dispatch Trucks, meaning Kamal referred to you, and then you will get the 3% as a carrier, right?
Yeah,
so that's awesome.
Correct, yeah.
That's awesome, Nick. Yeah. And I have a question about how independent freight dispatchers get paid. For example, if they're working with you, how that pay structure goes. Can you elaborate a little bit on this?
Yeah, absolutely. So and Kamal's gonna, once we kind of run the demo, you guys will see this very up close and personal, I guess you could say. But one of the cool benefits that OTR offers that a lot of other factoring companies do not have in play, just kind of due to our technology, is going to be what's called the dispatch percentage pool. So basically what happens, we set you up as a dispatcher, get your banking information on file, set you up in our CRM basically as a referral partner. Any carrier that you mentioned to us that you are planning to work with or is already a current client, basically you would just tell me the percentage that you want us to pull from their invoices. We'll send out a one-page DocuSign, which is basically signed by the dispatcher company as well as a carrier to give legal authorization for us to pull that percentage from the carrier's invoices. And we will pull your fee out of every schedule that carrier sends us. That's then deposited on a Wednesday ACH to the dispatcher. So typically Thursday morning, they wake up, all their funds for that carrier and basically any other carrier that had that set up will then hit their bank account, Thursday morning. So if that was a little confusing, I think the video might break it down a little bit.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
The questions maybe at the end will better detail it, but that's
absolutely.
Kind of it.
Yeah. So let's watch the demo that we did with Nick. This is the CRM, but I just wanted to kind of start a conversation and get an idea what we're talking about here.
Yeah, absolutely.
And guys, watch the video and please prepare your questions, like how you guys will get paid by, using this platform. And by the way, you will get 12 months of free access to this CRM that they developed. They spend thousands of dollars, to build this CRM, and both for, trucking companies and independent freight dispatchers. Now, all the questions you've been asking me, Kamal, what if I have 10, carriers, and then how I'm managing? Is there like a one place where I can, manage my carriers? What about invoicing? What if the carrier, don't want to pay, whatnot? Please prepare your questions and let's watch the demo.
But yeah, this is basically like we had mentioned with dispatchers that, are taking your course, you guys refer over what they will be getting access to. Basically, once they have their first carrier on board, we come in, we pair them with that carrier, and then we generate, my underwriting team generates them their own dispatch login. So you see, this is kind of just your standard homepage. It's going to show you, this is kind of the volume getting factored, customers by open aging. It'll show you here as well the invoices factored last month, average invoice size last month, which I think is pretty cool. And then also from the screen, you can go in and click into open AR. It's just simple as clicking in, and then it's going to show you obviously the invoice right here that is, and you even see right here, right? So paperwork, POD needed. Pretty cool, just kind of a home screen right here. Do have tutorial videos up in this corner. This is also cool if the dispatcher is trying to scale, right? So if they're bringing on other employees, let's say they go from, hey, I'm dispatching 10 trucks. Now we're at 50, right? They're going to obviously have to hire multiple dispatchers to handle that volume. And this kind of allows them to show that dispatcher, let's just say, hey, this is how the system works per se, right? So basically up here, you're going to have all your different tabs, right? That kind of have access to a couple of different things. So broker check, pretty straightforward, right? Obviously, basically you can just come in here, we'll just do a big one right here, right? Total quality logistics. It auto populates everything. It pulls up the MC number you see right here as well. So you can make sure, you get in there, you verify that's your customer, pulls up the MC, you can see all the information right here, credit check, and done. And then the next one we're going to have is your schedules. Click on here, and it's going to kind of pull up. And this is going to be the schedules. You're going to see all right down here, right? Each schedule this dispatcher has received, the date of it, the deposit account, and you can kind of see from when, let's see, 119 as he's grown, you can kind of see the invoices growing as well.
Yes,
right?
cool.
All right, so that's basically that. Pretty straightforward. You can click into here as well, and this is going to kind of show you the full breakdown of everything right here. All right, so that's the schedule side. I'm going to circle back to invoice board. I'm going to go to fast invoice first though, right?
Okay.
He simply goes in here under the client drop down. Those are his clients. So
Okay.
all he has to do is essentially go in here. He clicks which one it is. So we'll just kind of do an example here. Boom, 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 right? And then from city to city, we'll just do something simple. It's all powered through Google as well, which is nice. So it makes it a lot more efficient, right?
Okay.
And we put that info. Actually, we'll show you total distance. It breaks down the rate per mile just through our system. We'll kind of keep this similar. Total quality, right? Line haul would just go and say $1,000, right? And then you can just basically leave that stuff blank unless it kind of applies to the load. And then from that point, all you're going to do is click add invoice, right?
Right.
And then it says, boom, invoice was saved, right? You're going to go to invoice board, and this is where you're going to go to the bottom, and you're going to see these invoices all being built. Whatever sake you want to create a specific one, right? All you do is go in here in reports and go to main, and then that's going to pull up the filter. You're going to drop it down, go to assignment notices. You'll have the client there that you want it generated for. So if it's a different carrier, you can just basically drop that down, select whichever carrier you're needing it for, and then you're going to go to for general use, right?
This is where broker requesting from a dispatcher, hey, I need carriers, this notice of assignment.
Correct. Basically, you go to get report, and then that's going to generate down here. You're going to see that notice of assignment, very straightforward. All you do is click PDF, and that downloads you your copy right there. And then you're
And send it to a broker.
Correct. And then administration is pretty straightforward. That's just where you can kind of come in here, just manage some of your stuff, change your information, very similar to.
Awesome.
It's like, don't you think this is amazing? Well, this is an awesome tool. Nick,
Yeah.
I do see, questions coming in. Let's pull one by one, and let's take this. I don't think this is a question, but it says, this is great news. I've been searching for the right company. Awesome. You found it. So there you go. I do see this about an LLC. So it's Facebook user. We do have this, I don't know, technical issue maybe. We don't see the name, but his Facebook user says, do dispatchers need MC number or just an LLC to sign up with OTR? Sorry if I already answered.
Yeah. No, that's a perfect question. So yeah, no MC is required whatsoever. Very few, dispatchers really have an MC number anyway, right? They're just basically operating as an LLC incorporation, whatever the case is. It's actually funny. I feel like we had this question on the last one too, way back in the day. You really don't even technically need an LLC. We can actually set you up under just like basically a first last name with an email, address, kind of just contact information if you want to do it that way. So basically any ways available you set up. I always recommend doing an LLC incorporation, just do the liability structure of it, right? Just so that if, let's just say something doesn't go correct, someone can't come and take all your assets. So I always recommend doing that, and makes you look a lot more professional as well to these carriers when you're pitching and selling your dispatching service. But yeah, basically you just need an LLC incorporation, or if you want to go just almost like the DBA route of doing it underneath your name, we can set it up that way as well.
Awesome. Nick, a little bit of a clarification on this one. This is very, very common. I would say popular question when it comes to like dispatchers and the carriers. Do I need an MC? There are a lot of people, obviously, they're newcomers. They, really get excited about this opportunity. And it's like, hey, do I need an MC number to be an independent freight dispatcher? So can you elaborate a little bit more on this one? Do I need an MC to be an independent freight dispatcher?
Yeah, I think largely where that question stems from is a lot of dispatchers call a broker, right? Total Quality, CH Robinson, whoever it is, and they say, hey, I'm ABC dispatching, calling in to get this load. And they'll say, hey, look, we cannot book a load technically to a dispatcher, right? Because of just the air of maybe, hey, this is getting double brokered, something like that. So basically the way you're supposed to operate that is if you get a client, right, that client will have an MC number. You set up the carrier packet. you call up and say, hey, look, I am calling, I'm so-and-so calling with ABC Trucking as their dispatcher. And that's kind of the correct way to do it. But I think a lot of people maybe get turned off or get confused that you have to have an MC number due to just maybe some of the feedback they get from brokers when they call in to book loads. But, technically you do not need to have that in order to call in and book freight.
Absolutely. An MC number, for those of you who don't know, it stands for motor carrier. So if you apply for an MC number, you're basically becoming a carrier. Right. So
Exactly.
That's the beauty of this opportunity, that you don't need MC number. You're basically using the carrier's asset to dispatch. This is how
Correct.
you're going into the business without an MC number. So think about it. You are an agency, right? Helping, as Nick mentioned perfectly, that, hey, our carriers need help with dispatching. And I've been telling a lot that carriers need help, right? I was a carrier. I know Nick know a lot, hundreds of carriers that they need, independent freight dispatchers or the freight dispatchers. Nick, since we're talking about the carriers and we're talking about the clients, is there any possible way? Do you guys actually help? Let me close this real quick. Do you guys help independent freight dispatchers get a client? This is huge for them. Now they trained, they're going into their business, they know how to dispatch, but now they have problem finding carriers. How are you guys helping independent freight dispatchers with finding carriers? Do you do that?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. So it's one of those things. Well, I think from just the popularity of the first video, we had such an influx of dispatchers coming in, and originally it was like, perfect. Me and my team were setting up enough, and we wanted to build relationships. We had a huge influx come in, and so it was tough for me to kind of get everyone a fair slice of the pie. So like I mentioned, when we did this video, one thing with me is just kind of building the relationship, right? If you can build a relationship with me, send me some carriers for me to see how you kind of do business, how organized you are, how you do with booking rates, dealing with the carrier, dealing with the factoring company. All these things kind of play into building that rapport with me and my team. And then definitely once that's kind of built and established and I know your name, like that's another thing I mentioned to Kamal is, always just kind of be in my ears, send me an email, because I am just so busy on a daily basis. And I talk to like probably hundreds and thousands of people within 1 week. So it's hard for me to remember everybody as much as I would like to, maybe back in the days when we were smaller, but now things are just so crazy. So just kind of building that relationship with me. And then basically what happens from that point is anyone that we are setting up, right, that might be a referral from a current client or, just kind of a cold call inquiry, whatever the case is, we do monitor these guys and make sure that, hey, they are moving freight or, being profitable, right? Or if they don't, they set up and 3 weeks later, they don't have any invoices. I mean, obviously that's a great need for a dispatcher. So we definitely try to refer struggling carriers out to our, good established dispatching partners. And, everyone's got to start from somewhere. So that's kind of my whole pitch to it is, come in, just be positive, stay in my ear, stay calling and emailing me. It won't bother me. Right. But I just get so tied up that, I don't have the time to follow up with everybody, every day. So yeah, we definitely try to, push carriers as much as we can over to the dispatching services. Obviously, like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, keep them rolling, keep them profitable, and then it's a win-win situation. But another big recommendation I have is a lot of the Facebook groups, right? Facebook, Instagram, social media is so prevalent now. I think Kamal is a really good example of that. When we did the original video, you were at 11,000 followers, he's at 40,000 now, and because of that, he gets so many inbound leads, right? So just make yourself a good logo. Get that LLC, get that Facebook page, go in as many groups as you possibly can that pertain to dispatching and just constantly be checking those out. Because I promise you, people do go and they post in there because I'm in a lot of them myself. So people go and they post, say, hey, I need a dispatcher. Unfortunately, it's such an aggressive market now and it's becoming a little bit more saturated. So you will see 20, 30 comments, right, below some of these posts. But it's a good way, like I said, to get your feet wet. And another thing, once you basically get one carrier, if you treat that carrier right and do a good job, this is a very much a word of mouth industry. So that carrier could very well snowball into another 5 carriers, right? That could be his family members that are getting into trucking. It could be his buddies that were leased on for 10 years. And he says, hey, come out and do your own thing. I got a great dispatcher that's going to help you out. I'll get you in contact with the factoring. So everything's paid and, the cash flow is coming in. And that's kind of how we actually grew as OTR. We just probably until about the last 2 years haven't really done much marketing whatsoever. And we've kind of, ramped that up as we've grown. But from when we did start, way back in the days when Kamal kind of first got on, it was all word of mouth. It was just cold calls, word of mouth, and us selling on the service. As a dispatcher, that's a lot of it too. I can send carriers to a dispatcher all day long, but in all reality, I am going to send them multiple options, right? Everybody likes to have some options at the end of the day. So regardless, I think one thing that's missing with a lot of the dispatchers is like being able to sell yourself, right? And sell your service.
Yep.
So coming in, practicing it, you're going to have your times where it doesn't go well and you're like, damn, I want to give up. But you just got to kind of keep going and learn from the mistakes. And then ideally, when you get these carriers on the phone, you have a 15-second window to do your elevator pitch. And that's how you sell. I've been doing sales for 7 years. So a lot of times you do not get a long window. People lose their attention spans very quickly on the phone specifically. So I just say, practicing that pitch so that when I do send you a carrier or you do gain a carrier from Facebook, you're confident that you're going to win that account and create business. And then, like I said, that business more often than not will snowball into, more carriers and more networking basically.
Awesome. So did you guys catch the phrase? But let me say something really important. So Nick, basically what he's trying to say is that they will definitely help you, but what they need is that, hey, we need to see the proof of record that you can serve a carrier. Basically, that's what it means, right? If Nick knows you, how he will know you, because he will have the same access to the CRM and he will see the numbers. If you performing, by the way, those numbers that you saw on the demo is actual independent freight dispatcher work, right?
Yeah, that's why they were blurred out. That's why I can all blur them out.
There's like hidden information that you saw. That was, I think he had about like 4 truck. He serves 4
I think
truck
he had 4 or 5 different carriers that, and he, in all honesty, he's only been on probably since the beginning of the year. And he, that specific dispatcher is in a good niche out in California, and has just done a very good job of, kind of utilizing that to his advantage. And I think that's kind of what happened is, a lot of the equipment types similar. So I'm sure what happens, he got one in, he's been doing a really good job with the rates as well. He's very good on communication with us also, gets the paperwork in on time. It's very clean. And, that word spreads. And I wouldn't be surprised if the other 4 guys that basically he set up were all buddies of some
Absolutely.
sort. So
cool. Yeah. So I just want you to take a look. You can go back to the video and you can watch that, the demo, and you will see that they're thousands of dollars. They're making a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
So coming back to this, Nick, sending your carriers, and obviously we talked about this in the beginning. This opportunity is not for everybody, guys. This isn't a business opportunity, obviously, yes, but it's all about bringing the value. Money is the byproduct, whatever the value that you guys bringing in. That's the Nick's point. Is like, hey, we need to see the value you guys bringing in onto the table. Money is a byproduct. There are hundreds of thousands of people out there all across the globe. They're making hundreds of thousands of dollars in this industry, right? There's 100% honesty, total transparency, right? So, Nick, I think this is very important question. Their Facebook user asked 3% from the net income, meaning I'm assuming he's the carrier, and he's like, is it 3% from the net income? Can we?
Basically net income from the line haul, right? So whatever you would invoice us, if that's a 1 invoice for 3,000, or if it's 3 invoices for 10,000, it just comes right off the top, and then we pay you the difference of that. So in the example of 3%, you would get 97% advance of your invoice. So the 3% is our service fee for obviously handling the funding, all the back office work as well. We just take that right off the bat, pay you less that. And then kind of the beauty of the non-recourse, we're one of really only, I think, 2 companies that offer that style where once it's paid, obviously the broker's approved through the credit check that we showed in the video, and we have the paperwork we need obviously to get paid from the broker, right? Then we're taking full liability of that invoice, no matter how long on the back end it takes us to collect on it.
Okay, so I think maybe we need to kind of a little bit, clarify this. Net income, maybe I'm assuming he means like if I made, for example, $35,000 or $30K,
right,
for my flatbed market, right? I'm in the flatbed market. I made $30K, so I'm sending this $30K invoice to you. Is it 3%, or I'm subtracting all the expenses and what's left, and then you guys charging from that?
It's just income, whatever the line haul is, right? So if that's 30 grand in invoices, basically that's what we're going to take our 3% off of, and then pay minus the 3%.
Awesome.
All the expenses and all that stuff, that's probably more internally done by the carrier, right? We do have the fuel cards and things like that with EFS and Comdata, honestly. So we have a lot of cool features we can set up with that to help out with the fuel if that's something they want to tie into factoring. We never press that on anybody like honestly other companies do. We can have the standalone fuel card, standalone factoring, or we can link them together, kind of draw up a good game plan for what the carrier wants. I mean, we're trying to be as close to like a one-stop shop as we possibly can. So that's why we have kind of those offerings of the fuel, obviously the factoring, and then, partnering with the dispatchers is something we decided instead of opening our own, we didn't want to, get away from the factoring. That's what we do well. And that's what we want to put our resources in. So that's why kind of the third-party dispatcher, the independent dispatcher comes into play in terms of, fitting a piece of the puzzle into helping the carrier out kind of, each step of the way.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Nick, we do have a question from Captain. As an independent dispatcher, how many carriers will I need in order to sign up with OTR Capital?
Yeah, so technically you don't need any carriers. Like me and Kamal keep kind of mentioning and going over. Obviously, we try to do the vetting as in having trained dispatchers that go through some form of a course. The reason I'm on with Kamal, I stand behind his as the top one because I've seen some other ones, and we'll just kind of leave it at that. But we do prefer to have them trained in some capacity other than maybe just watching some YouTube videos, because there is so many ins and outs that go into it. Like the funny thing me and Kamal talked about after our video yesterday is that a lot of dispatchers can get on load board and they can book some freight through CH Robinson or whoever puts their stuff up there, but they don't grasp the business concept that goes behind it, right? And that's kind of circling back to the point I made about learning how to sell your product, sell your service, show the value on these phone calls, via emails, text, whatever the case is. So yeah, basically you can set up, you do not need a carrier to set up with us, right? In fact, most dispatchers that do set up don't yet have a carrier, right? It's something that they obtain, a lot of times 1, 2, 3 months later. And then they kind of circle back with me and the team. We get them set up with a portal, all that good stuff. So yeah, you do not actually need any carriers. Yeah.
Hey, Captain, there, if that's your real name. So the contingency is that, coming back to the conversation that we had, is that you must be an independent freight dispatcher, right? Meaning you should be a dispatcher. You know how to dispatch, right? As Nick mentioned, and we talked about yesterday, that a lot of people teaching just how to become a dispatcher. Yes, it is important, but what about the business aspect of it, right? So you dealing with businesses, meaning carriers out there, they're real people with real businesses with real problems, right? And you're going into this, market solving those problems. So this is very, very important to kind of think about this, right? So when you signing up using the link and calling the Nick saying, hey, Nick, I'm an independent freight dispatcher. I want to kind of sign up with you guys. I don't have a carrier, but keep in mind that you must have the training before you go there. Maybe you don't have the carrier, and then maybe OTR Capital will help you get a carrier, right? We talked about this. If you just joined, please, watch the video again. But it's very, very important. You must have the training. At least you are an independent freight dispatcher, right? This is very important.
Yeah.
So let me take this question real quick. Wolf Express Dispatch. I'm one of Kamal's student. I just completed setting up my LLC. Beside being his student, what qualifies me to benefit from this opportunity? Nick?
Sorry, my manager's giving me, I'm trying to shoot him away. All right.
Cool.
No. It's a great question. There's a lot of benefits in terms of, partnering with us. One thing is just, as Kamal mentioned, kind of our brand name now. We are, known kind of across the industry, I would say, not to like toot our own horn, but as a premier company, right? If you guys, feel free to do your research. We're a transparent company, Facebook, Google, Better Business Bureau. I think we're 4.8 maybe out of 5 on both Google and Facebook, which is pretty spectacular, even for any industry you're in, basically, with hundreds of reviews of our actual clients, right? We're not just posting stuff. We're not posting a stock picture on a website and saying, hey, this is a review from our carrier. Like those, all I've seen them on all the other factoring companies are all BS. I can tell you that right now. So our proof is kind of in the pudding, right? In terms of what we offer. Better Business Bureau. Also, as me and Kamal were talking about, we are the now preferred factoring company, the DAT Load Board. So that's another huge thing with dispatchers. If you guys are using the DAT, I know Kamal pushes DAT, which is great because that is a phenomenal load board to use. Anything that has that check mark next to it is an auto approved broker. So instead of you having to go through this source, that source to do a broker check, ours is still very quick, as you saw in the video. It takes 5 seconds, but 15 seconds can be the difference in missing a load every time. So if you see that check mark, that is 100% guaranteed going to be factored with OTR. You can book it, factor it, and everything's green light from there. So that's a big benefit. Like I said, just having the name brand of saying, hey, I am partnered with one of the top services. Another thing that me and Kamal kind of laughed about, going back to the margins and the referral payout, is a lot of companies offer this kind of stuff and they kind of press their agenda that way. I think what happens with dispatch companies, they might see this and say, oh, okay, I'm going to hop at the first opportunity I see. One thing that you'll have to realize is that, you got to stand behind your brand at the end of the day, right? So that brand correlates to many different things. That can be, you get a carrier, you refer them to another factoring company because you're getting some form of kickback. You don't do your research. They're going to go factor the company and have a horrible experience. That experience could dictate if they stay with you or not, right? You could have a guy that's going to be with you for a year or for his entire, trucking career, let's say, or you could have a guy that's with you for a month, then you refer him somewhere else and he hates his life. He blames that on you and then kind of cuts bait, right? Because you're carrying your name behind that. So that's why it is important to do your research, know that you're partnering with a reputable company at the end of the day. And then let's see the benefits. I mean, I think you guys probably saw just with that tutorial video, there's a lot of access to great stuff with credit checks, us handling a lot of your collections efforts as well with pulling that fee, right? A lot of times, dispatchers they don't force a carrier to doing factoring, which I'm not trying to say you need to have your carriers factor, but it makes your life as a dispatcher 5 times easier. Because if you do not have them factor, they're going to be able to basically dictate where they send their invoices. They'll bill net 30, net 40. You then have to wait for that carrier to get paid to then get your percentage of it a lot of times. So you're going to have to wait 50, 60 days maybe to then get your revenue. With OTR, it's just extremely streamlined. Everything's organized through the portal. And then obviously the referral, right? Everyone likes some extra cash on the side. So I think those are kind of the main things we encompass that, help out dispatchers and some of the benefits that you get with partnering with us.
Yeah. And I have, my inputs on this one, but before we get there, with the residual income, what good about this residual income thing is that you don't have to, for example, let's say this carrier leaves you, but since you brought this carrier to them, you're getting paid anyway, right?
Correct.
So think about like you're not dispatching any single load to this carrier, but since you brought that customer to OTR Capital, and OTR Capital shares, as long as they stay in the business with OTR Capital, you get paid. Think about it.
That's a great point. Yeah, that's a great point, right? Is that even because you might just be a dispatcher for them for maybe 2 weeks, right? And then, they're moving on or doing whatever they want to do, going direct, but you're still getting that nice little kickback from OTR for originating that carrier and getting them set up with us. So it doesn't always have to be that you win on the dispatching side, right? Sometimes you win on the on the referral side and getting an OTR and vice versa. So that's a good point, Kamal.
Absolutely. So what benefit? I think the biggest benefit, I think it's the unique selling proposition for you as an independent freight dispatcher. Now you have this giant company behind you, kind of supporting you as a factoring company. You can sell factoring company to your, carriers. Think about if the Prime Express working with X, Y, and Z factoring company, and they charging me 4 or 5%, right? And like it's a lot of money. 1%, it's a lot of money, right? What you do is that you're selling, saying, hey, I have a factoring company that I work with, and my students, they know this. I teach this inside the training. And I said, listen, if I can give you 3%, I work with OTR Capital, right? So if you just sign up with them, now from 5% or 4%, you're now down to, 3%. Now, see that? And then there are a lot of benefits to a carrier working with OTR Capital. Now your customer happy, OTR Capital happy, and you're happy. Like it's a win-win situation as
all the way around,
right? Yeah. Absolutely. So here is another question, and she's one of my students as well. Her name is Brittany, and she says, I decided to add oversize weight permitting to my dispatch service. Will OTR be able to help me find flatbeds, step techs who need this service?
Yeah, I mean, basically we factor for any kind of equipment type, right? I mean, that goes sprinters, box trucks, flatbeds, hot shots, reefers, the whole nine, right? So yeah, as long as it can legally move on the highway, we will factor it, and we have clients that do that. Now, in terms of us specifically targeting, flatbeds, we don't really have much way to dictate what they are until we get them on the phone, kind of hear about their business, things of that nature. But yeah, we definitely set up a ton of, flatbeds and step decks, a lot of hot shots as well, which are pretty good piece of equipment if you know kind of how to operate with it. So yeah, that's definitely something we can help with. I can't say that we specifically gear towards those, right? I wish we would. I mean, flatbeds are great piece of equipment, and they can move a lot, and the loads pay really well. But yeah, we dispatch for just about anything that's legally moving on the road.
Awesome.
Or, I'm sorry, factor. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I bought a truck and I have my authority with not having a trailer or reefer. Will that set me back?
Yeah. So that's just a power only, I'm assuming, right? An 18-wheeler, I would guess. No. I mean, we have a lot of power only guys that do very, very well. There's a lot of dispatchers actually that specifically specialize in just doing the power only, right? That's kind of like their niche. So I think that's an important thing, with dispatchers, find your niche. What is that, right? I had another one that came from that original video that me and Kamal did. She actually ended up getting into drayage and has been absolutely crushing it. I mean, her clients are 150,000 with a couple trucks on the drayage, doing containers in and out of the ports. And that was something I don't think she had set out to do, but she got some connections. She found her niche, and lo and behold, that kind of snowballed into, where she's at now. But no, I think, the power only stuff is doing very well right now. And, kind of a piece of advice, if, you don't want to get a trailer, look into, doing some drayage and container work by the ports or on the railroads. That stuff pays out very well. It's not very long haul. They literally, when I talk to some of my buddies at brokerages, have more freight than they have carriers. So stuff is just piling up. So there's always access to, finding drop and hook stuff or finding dispatchers that specialize in the power only. So I wouldn't say go out and, overextend yourself to buy a trailer, especially the way the market is right now with, a lot of people are backdated to 2023 with the trailers, and the ones you do find are used and they're overpriced. So I would say don't overextend yourself. There's plenty of avenues to, find good paying freight with the power only.
Absolutely. Nick, I know you're busy. We'll take two more questions and then we're good to go. So the Brittany says, thanks for taking my question. I can't wait to get started with OTR capital. Let's do this. I think this is very important. We'll take this question. I never had a formal training, but I have a successful dispatching business with a few carriers and some broker relationship. Should I still take the training to qualify? Well, obviously I can take on this one, Nick, if you want me to. Well, you don't have to. If
Go ahead.
You
can run with it, Kamal.
Yeah. So if you know how to dispatch, if you know how to serve OTR Capital's clients, you're good to go. Right. So the point is like, it's this opportunity. It's not for everybody. Right. It's not just, let's face it. There are some people, they will get excited about this. Oh, sounds good. There's a lot of money to be made. And then start, calling OTR Capital, for example, hey, let's work. But it's not going to work. Let's be, honest here. Right. But what we're trying to say is that, hey, you need some, as you said, formal training, or you are a dispatcher and maybe you have carriers. Just join their team, right?
Yeah.
You're good to go. You don't have to, buy the courses and be part of the mastermind group, whatnot. You already good to go, and you have, up and running, company. It's more power to you. So if that helps, let me see what this question. I think when this is very important. When I see percentage is very important. When I refer someone to OTR because I came through Kamal's referral, do they also get 3%?
Yeah, that's correct. So that was kind of, I think, what we hit on a little bit at the beginning of it, right? That is for carriers through that link, but also if you're coming through basically this link that Kamal will send you guys, I know that's through Kamal. I set you up in the system, and then I have essentially specific templates that I will send for Kamal's clients, and that's kind of what I highlight actually in that email I send you. Will just be some internal resources for us. Some, other external resources for dispatchers that I recommend. But also I do have that all kind of streamlined and situated to know that If it's through that link, that's somebody from Kamal, and then I will go ahead and pass along that same referral program to any clients you have.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nick. And just to quickly wrap up, so the benefits you guys have as an independent freight dispatchers, well, think about there's a huge company right, besides you, supporting you. It's a factoring company, and then you can just use that idea and say, hey, how much you paying for your, factoring company? They will say, I don't know, 4%, 5%, whatever, and say, hey, listen, there is a money, right? So I work with OTR Capital. If you join me, meaning independent freight dispatching company, I will connect with, I have, one of my friends, his name is Nick Garcia. They can help you, right? So think about now you're saving money for them. They will join you, and obviously you win, right?
Yeah.
And then,
and even, sorry to cut you off, even, outside of the rate perspective, if you're having issues with other companies, right? I think that's a big thing too, because there's always going to be someone that's offering, a bottom barrel rate. And I think it's with anything else, and same, like maybe let's say with a dispatch training course, you might be able to find one that's super cheap, but it's not going to teach you the ins and outs. And it's the same with factoring, right? There's always going to be, someone that's throwing a bottom barrel rate out there, but you're not getting that service level, and you're not getting someone like Kamal mentioned that cares about your business and picks the phone up even, right? A lot of these other companies, you're waiting on 45 minutes to get someone on the phone, which is like absolutely ludicrous to me. With OTR, we have a strict like 3-4 ring policy. So you call and you're getting someone on the phone, a real person that works in this office basically. So it's also just, as simple as, hey, I have someone that's not having a great experience with their factoring, or maybe they don't factor, and, they're open to looking at it because, they're having issues on the collections end, or, with floating the receivables. Just a simple phone call. Because, one thing I've learned is just getting on that call and getting out some information. Sometimes that does trickle back in, 6 months, a year later. And that's same to the dispatching side. Anyone you can talk to, it's a numbers game. The more you get your brand and your name out there, send these people emails, texts, calls, whatever it is, that just kind of sticks in their head. Hopefully, if you have that good conversation, and it could be that you talk to them when they go active, they don't need a dispatching service. A month later, they haven't been able to find freight, and they just happen to flag your email, and they'll call you back. I've actually had dispatchers tell me that that's happened. And
absolutely. It happens a lot.
Yeah, all the time. So
absolutely.
That's just one of those things, is that, always push the brand out. And I'm always open to hop on a call with, any carriers, any dispatchers, just to kind of, get our name out there and get some just general information, just for someone to have it on hand.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Nick. It's been awesome. A lot of, value bombs, right? You are dropping on us here today. Thank you so much. There are a lot of excitement, to be honest with you. And if there are people like skeptical about this and thinking like, what's the catch? Be honest with you. We talked about this with Nick, and I know Nick for years. To us, it's bit the competition. Like if this is like total transparency. We bring a lot of value into the market, be honest with you, right? So you guys get the benefit. There's no catch, right? I'm not making any money if you bring in carriers to, for example, OTR Capital, right? So
correct.
It's all yours. It's like, and they're supporting you with the CRM. It's awesome, CRM for both for carriers and independent freight dispatchers. And carriers out there is 3% if you sign using the link. And again, we negotiate it for you, right? And then Nick is here not to pitch his services. It's basically, donating his time in supporting the trucking industry. Why we do this? Because trucking is pandemic-proven industry, right? So this is how we survive, because of the transportation industry, right? It's because of the trucking industry. Guys, so there links below this video, how you can connect with Nick using the link is below this video. All the links for the load boards, free 30-day trial, the links are below. For the training, resources below this video. I'll say thank you so much, and we do this live stream every Tuesday and Friday. Please come back and join us on Friday. Well, Nick, thank you so much. You guys have been awesome, and thank you, and I will see you on Friday.
Thanks, Kamal. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Hope to hear from you guys soon. All right.
Yep. Bye-bye.